Greetings everyone, welcome back to Blade Bias. With the cheese making such a splash in the community lately, and other options like most of Nibali's lineup, and things like the Orion Trainer, there really has never been a better time to get into Balisongs. All of the options in the sub $100 price range are not only extremely affordable compared to what other Balisongs used to be back in the day, but they also flip better than they really ever have. I don't think that we have ever been so spoiled for choice in the budget range ever in this hobby. And now we have a new maker wants to throw their hat into the budget ring. Today I have a package from Thomas Balisong, who wanted to send me out his new Default, a G10 and 7075 aluminum trainer, retailing for $68.99 on Amazon. So close to that beautiful number. But this thing is really heavily being pushed as a beginner Balisong. And not only a beginner Balisong, but one of the best that you can get. Just the name itself, the Default, suggests that this is something that Thomas wants it wants to be people's go-to recommendation to getting into the hobby. And if we look at the product page, they are definitely targeting that very well. It seems like the tagline of the Default is "Start with Default." We masterfully designed the Default to be the go-to choice for beginner flippers with top-notch flipping experiences. And they say it has a great tune, channel construction, 4.3 ounces, 5.75-inch handle length, and definitely kind of going for that, you get a lot for your money. We hope the Default can be flipped by everyone, whether you're just getting into the hobby or you're already a professional. The Default is here to suit your needs. So with stuff like that, and especially with things, the channel construction along with our precision tuning enables the Default to be both a perfect flipper and a musical instrument. Its glassy vocals are nothing but an enjoyment to listen to. When you have stuff like that, I can't help but be a little excited when you're talking about just how amazing your Balisong will flip, not only for beginners, but for everyone else, and how well it's tuned and how well it's made and all of that. You can't help but get my attention. So let's check out the Thomas Default, shall we? In case you weren't aware, in fact, I won't use the Orion, we'll use the Aragon. Thomas is of the Aragon and the Baikal fame. The Baikal being my personal favorite design of his. And he is selling these through Marcolo. These are all listed. Wow, shows you how sharp it is. I didn't even cut through the sticker. I cut through the box itself. That's cool. What was I saying? Oh yeah, all of his stuff is sold on Amazon through Marcolo, the brand also known as Onall, etc. So here we go. First open. Ooh, okay, this is already very different from... Is there no Balisong? I'm sure there is. I'm sure it's under there. This is already very different. We have a carrying pouch in the same kind of green that his box is in, with a really soft inside. Holy cow, look at that. It's like what you'd feel on like a stuffed animal. That's actually a very nice carrying pouch. The only thing I wonder is if it holds itself very well, because usually they have like those pins here, but not the pins, like the adjustment things that will hold it, but honestly it feels like it would hold pretty well. And we also get extra hardware. This thing is running on bushings, so we have a spare set of all the hardware in here for $68. I don't know, this thing could really shine. Wow. So this is actually not the G10 version. This, it seems he sent me the carbon fiber version. Technically the silver version. You can get the Default in jade green or black for $68.99, or for $78.99, $10 more, you can get this silver option, which I believe is some sort of carbon fiber. I don't think it actually says specifically what this material is on the website. Or sorry, on Amazon. I'm assuming it's carbon fiber. It looks like carbon fiber. So this one is actually $10 more. The feel of the scales is passable. Feels very plasticky and it has kind of a roughness to it that I don't super enjoy. But I almost think the G10 probably would have been worse. One thing that you can see actually is that there's an inconsistency between the two handles. My Nemesis is actually very similar, where like you can see that this is like the shiny carbon fiber that this is like the shiny carbon fiber that this is. So they're on the opposite side on the opposite handles. My Nemesis had that too, where like whatever, it doesn't matter. So this thing, the design, not my favorite thing ever, I can't lie. This kind of reminds me of like the chopper blade from the palette where it had like that corner cut off. Not my favorite thing in the world. I definitely prefer a few more curves to my Balisong blade rather than this more geometric thing, but it's certainly unique and it looks pretty cool. We got a bite handle indicator, and these handles are chunky. Not as chunky as I thought. I was talking to Pyro about this thing the other day, and he compared it to the Edit, which, let's actually see. It's actually kind of close, but it is ultimately a little bit thinner than that, which is nice to see. So the design isn't really doing too much for me, but again, this thing is beginner focused, like down to the core, down to even the name, the default. So let's see if this thing can become the new default recommendation, shall we? First of all, since the sounds are so heavily pushed in their marketing, let's give it a sound test, because let's hear these glassy vocals. Okay. Okay, that actually sounds amazing. And the tolerances are very, very, very impressive for a sandwich design. I guess it's not a sandwich design though. This is built like a Nautilus. It's got a channel aluminum handle with the G10 scales on it. So it sounds incredibly good. The tune is also incredibly good. Compare it to something like did I even use my Orion trainer in the intro? I don't think I did. I'd actually compare it to the Orion trainer. Very similar tunes there. But let's give it a flip and see if this thing is just that good. Okay. Okay, Thomas, I see you, man. Grab the blade. I believe on the website, this is... Maybe it wasn't on the website, but maybe it was in the comments section of the Instagram post where he announced this. He said it was slight handle bias. Definitely getting that. You can definitely feel it in the fans. Fans aren't as... There's a little bit of handle drag. Fans aren't as flat as I would normally look for in a Balisong, but honestly, looking at the blade, it doesn't surprise me too much, considering that there's no tip, it's just kind of this flat area. But it fans well. Like, I'm not going to say that it fans poorly. Kind of reminding me of something like the Cheese fans, although the Cheese feels a little bit more responsive in its fanning. 0G's good. Oh, actually, okay, maybe not. It does that fairly okay, and it sounds so good. Let's go for a Chaplin. Okay, so there is a little bit of weirdness in the flipping of this thing. It feels... It does feel like it's hesitating a little bit when I flip it. But it's nothing too bad. I don't want that to come across as like, oh, it flips poorly. I think this thing actually flips quite well. But it does... There are just a few little kind of inconsistencies in the flipping where, like, it will kind of pause for a second. It just feels kind of weird. Yeah, with that 0G especially, there was some kind of... Very good Giraffe, but it does feel very slightly like I'm fighting it a little bit to get it to do what I want it to do, which could be to these big handles. The handles, like I said, aren't as big as something like an Edit, thankfully, but they are still much thicker than something like an Orion, something like a Cheese, and they are very, very blocky. There is not a lot of circular anything to this. That was something that I really praised the Orion for, because these chamfers right here allow the top of the handles to feel like they're circles when you fan, but then the bottom of the handles are still kind of more, not totally square, but more square for things like ladders, which is great. But this thing, totally blocky. Choker fanning, I think, is definitely by far the thing that it's struggling with the most. Because even if it is fighting me just a little bit, for $68 and the build quality of this thing, I think that the flipping definitely matches. It just seems like it's going to take a little bit of getting used to. But every time I go into a choker fan, except that time actually, the blockiness is definitely getting in the way of me being able to get that choker fan entirely out. And kind of just any trick where you need to rotate the handles in your hand, I am having a little bit of trouble with. This is owed to my small hands, but like especially when I'm going like, what was I actually doing there? Yeah, this trick where you have to go around into the middle finger, I've been struggling with a little bit. I don't necessarily think that's the fault of the Balisong more than it is just my small hands, but ultimately it is a more thick, blocky design. So if some people aren't into that, then maybe this thing isn't going to be great for you. Honestly, overall though, I think it flips quite good. I actually am enjoying it, especially with the sound. I will say you get a half eye roll from me with like, ooh, it's like a musical instrument, but honestly, this is probably one of the best sounding Balisongs in the sub $100 range. Oh my gosh, could I voice crack any more? I don't think I could name a better sounding Balisong in this price range, honestly. It sounds really, really good. The tolerances are really, really good. And I didn't even mention, it's nice to see like this construction style in this price range. So now we have like a good majority of the construction styles covered in the sub $100 range, because normally when you want G10 scales, you're looking at things like the old stuff that used to be on Amazon, like that really old like stainless steel liner stuff like that just didn't flip well. And now we're getting like proper Balisongs with G10 scales or even carbon fiber scales. Like I said, you get that Nautilus construction for $80. 60, $70, 70, $80. So this thing's positioned directly to compete with things like the Cheese, like the Orion. Do I think it beats them? I am certainly again, when I say struggling, I don't mean that it flips poorly. I'm just using this as a point of comparison. I am struggling to flip this more than my Orion and definitely more than my Cheese. But it also provides a completely unique experience to both of those. So maybe what I'll end up thinking is, while it's not like the default, it's a great option. And I think that's probably where it's going to sit, but we'll have to see. So overall, I'm impressed. There's a few little weird things with it, like I said, but I don't think anything that ultimately kills the experience for me. So I'll spend a few undisclosed amount of time with this thing. I guess I can go back to doing a week now that I'm caught up with everything, but I'll spend a little bit with this thing, check it out, kind of get my opinions on the default aspect of it. But for right now, I would say it's a pretty solid flipper. If you're interested in the construction, I don't think you can really go wrong with it. Because, oh my gosh. Because it is completely, as far as I know, there might be a Balisong that I'm not thinking of, but it seems to be completely unique in the budget range. Oh, the jimping, it's the same issue with the Nautilus. You're gripping onto the scales rather than the actual jimping itself, so the jimping does absolutely nothing. I would love to see a company, I don't even know if it's possible, but I would love to see someone put jimping into the scales themselves rather than just the channel itself. That would be nice, because yeah, I'm just gripping onto the scales. There's absolutely nothing coming from that jimping. So yeah, I'm impressed. Flips pretty well. And honestly, the design's kind of growing on me a little bit. It's a pretty interesting looking dude. And by far its best strength is that sound and that tune. Very cool. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to spend a little bit more time with this thing, fully get my thoughts on it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you again to Thomas for sending this thing out. He did send it for free, but any and all opinions expressed have been my own. I'll cover that again when I actually have my full opinions. And we will see you then. Later.